So Mermaid Tales, this book, the inspiration for this book partially came from what you learned in design school about sustainability and being responsible in regards to the environment. And what else inspired you to do this?
Well, I really feel like I was compelled from God to write this book because, like I said, I'm not a writer and I really didn't want to do it. And I just kept getting this nudge like, you have to write this book. And so I'm like, okay, fine, I'll write the book. So I started writing the story and drawing up all the characters, and then I, just kind of pushed it aside. And then like a year, I think, another year goes by, and I became unemployed temporarily. I was a temp and they needed to hire me back on, but I had to take 2 months off before they could take me back. So I thought, okay, I'm going to finish that book. So I started really working on it and doing it all. And then I was like, oh, why am I doing this? And so then I'm like, okay, I'll just push it aside. And I was watching TV, and this message came up. It was like some TV show, and it said, God never said that it would be easy, but he said it would be worth it. Oh. And I was like, oh, gee, okay, fine, I'll start working on it again. So I've actually finished all the illustrations, the whole story, had it all ready to almost print. So I took it and had a little dummy book made up of it. And then I started wanting to do a wedding venue, so it got pushed aside again. And then just about 2 months ago, I had again from TV, I was watching it, and they were saying God gives you gifts and you have to use those gifts because it helps others as well as yourself. And if you don't do them, then you're actually hurting other people by not doing your gifts, your passion. And so I thought, oh, that's coincidence, because the book popped up in my head, and I'm like, oh, that's just coincidence. But it happened 3 times when I was flipping through the channels. I'm like, okay,
I guess
fine.
I better listen.
And I'm like, I don't understand how this is going to help a lot of people, but I guess I'll finish this book.
Yeah.
And then I just happened to find a printer that's down the road I can walk to. And I was like, wow, okay, this is really falling into place and becoming much easier. And that's kind of how I got the push on it. And then my sister and I wanted to do some toys also.
yeah. Which, let's talk about the toys in just a second. But on the book, now that you've actually, you've authored it and you did all the illustrations for it, and now we have it right here, how did that impact you in that process? I mean, obviously you were saying, I just kept getting these signals, I got to do this. But now that you've followed through and done it, have you seen any of sort of the rewards, in a sense, of
well,
that?
I understood what the meaning was, because I'm like, how is this book going to help many people? And then it, I think it was from God, a little message saying, donate part of the proceeds. So I have 3 charities that 33 cents of every book is being donated to Christian organizations that help save the environment. And I thought, oh, well, that makes sense now, how it's going to help many people.
Right.
As well as educate kids on how to protect the environment.
Right.
And I have the names. It's Eco Justice Team of the Cascades Presbytery, and then Restoring Eden, and the Oregon Center for Christian Values.
And they're all environmentally...
They are. A lot of them do other things too, but they have an environmental section that they focus on. So the proceeds will be going to it, a part of the proceeds. Okay.
Has this made you even more aware and more sensitive and have a greater desire to be more, think about recycling? I mean, everything's, recycling all the time, we hear it. But I have to say, myself included, I still don't really do it the way that I should. Is it sort of like, okay, now I've put this in words and I've set this precedence for myself?
I'm like, oh man, I can't tell people to do that and not do it myself. Like, one of the things is going shopping with a cloth bag. We went shopping last night and I didn't have one with me, so I had to take a paper bag, and I'm like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
I need to make sure I have a cloth bag on me at all times, because I can't advertise something and not live it. Yeah. So yeah, definitely it's, I do most of it, but the few things I don't do really stand out now. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, I got to get on that. I have to fix it.
Yeah. Conviction.
Yep.
Yes. Well, so what about the Troutdale house? Because, I mean, you're a very interesting young woman. I mean, you've done a lot of different things, and it sounds like you've got really great morals and a strong family. How does that all play into your mission with your business, which is the Troutdale house?
Well, the Troutdale House, actually a longer name, it's the Troutdale House by the Sandy River, but I refer to it just as the Troutdale House. But I actually wanted to do that when I was 9 years old. My oldest sister got married, and I was a flower girl. I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And I played with my dolls, and they were all getting married, and my mom had to go out and buy more Ken dolls because they were married, and I needed more Kens because I had played the wedding over and over and over, and I'm like, this is so awesome. And then as I got older, I kept envisioning weddings when I go to the park. How would a wedding work here? A restaurant, how would a wedding work here? Someone's house. I wouldn't tell anyone, they think I was crazy, but I always envisioned ceremonies.
Wow.
And how would this work? And how would they make room for all the dining? And so my husband actually started doing photography for weddings, and I assist him with the pictures. And that actually started at my nephew's wedding. He did the photos. He was always into photography as a hobby, and then when he did that, he goes, I want to do this for a living. And I go, yeah, and I can assist you.
Yeah.
So I do assist him when he does photography, and of course when you go to a lot of weddings and you see a lot of venues, I'm like, I really want my own venue because there's so many restrictions that the other venues have. And I wanted to have the power to say, oh, you can do that because this is my place and I don't mind.
Yeah.
It makes a great photo. So that's where the desire to find a venue really happened, was
And you do have a
understanding it.
really great venue in and of itself, but also the location and the things around it are really probably perfect for photo opportunities.
Yeah.
And your location, I read something that you had said, and I thought it was really cool, and that was, well, it's cool, but it's sad too, that most, the majority, I forget if you gave a figure, of divorces are a result of finances.
Right.
And that you wanted to help couples get off on the right foot by not having to essentially fork over a fortune to get married. And so you kind of carry that through. That's part of your mission with the Troutdale House on the Sandy.
It really is, because when I was getting married, I was outraged and shocked that they're like, yeah, it's 5 cents for that fork. If you want to use, 100 or 200 forks, that adds up, and you need knives. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And I mean, there's a lot of great venues out there, but I just didn't like the nickel and diming aspect of everything. And then once you say the word wedding, the price skyrockets. So I'm like, okay, I want affordable weddings where people who can't normally afford something really nice can afford to get married at the Troutdale House and have it be really nice. And they can bring in their own food. They can have a caterer of their choice. We have a bunch of different centerpiece choices to sit on the tables, arches, gazebos, so they don't have to go out and rent all that stuff and spend all that money. We have a cleaning crew, and they come through and clean it, so they don't even have to worry about taking their garbage out.
Which is a huge advantage, because most venues force you to have to clean it up.
They do.
At the end.
If you are allowed to bring in your own stuff, usually you have to clean it.
Yeah. So that's a big plus for people.
So I'm really not in this industry to say, oh, it's weddings and I'm trying to make as much money as humanly possible. I'm really in it because I support marriage and I want people to stay married. And the number one reason of divorce is finances.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be responsible for that.
Exactly. Well, that's great. I love that. When we come back, I want to take it back kind of to kids' childhood and the dolls and your toys and the toy company you started with your sister. So when we return, we will talk to Laura about her toy company. So be right back.
When we return.
So every story that's made, there's toys that come with it. So they have a launch point. They know the names of the characters. They know kind of their story. They can play that story out.